late season potato planting. Got the rototiller out, my old rebuilt Monkey Ward rototiller. So let's do a quick thing, different spot than the potatoes. You see we got some volunteers from the year before and volunteers from last time. So they keep coming up for a while when you miss them. Here's a motley set of starts. You see a bunch of little ones on top. I'm going to plant those towards one end, kind of an experiment. The larger ones have been dusted with sulfur mixed with diatomaceous earth. Yay, Elvis has left the building. Potatoes are in the trench. All right, here, June 30th, upper garden. In fact, I'm glad I just stated that because I got to take I have to take a reading off of the meter this evening for the solar. So I'll be getting those readings, and here we're gonna let's get on to our upper garden check. Update, status, all those good things. Okay, corn. We've had a lot of problem with the birds. You see how there's some missing. I've like replanted and it's kind of coming up, but keeps kind of getting chewed off. And what I do, and you can see in the back here where I've covered it up with the plastic, that's a row that I just planted. So until it comes up, well, I see a couple of them have popped up. So until they're up and hitting the plastic, then I'll put those pieces of wood under the plastic and another piece over the top. Give it a couple more inches. They're less likely to pull it out of the ground once it's a few inches tall. Yeah, they just they're terrorizing me this year. Okay, grapes, hazelnuts, persimmon. Here's green grapes. Lots of potatoes. Now these are the planted row of potatoes here. I just mounted them up today, pushed the dirt over into them. See, we're still getting some strawberries. Though the plants aren't doing as well as last year, I'm really not getting nearly as many strawberries as last year, and I don't know why. Season's winding down. This kind of row here, these are volunteers, potatoes that I picked and must have missed little pieces. So anyway, they volunteered. These are volunteers. I can't remember last year or the year before, but from different years. Since I'm not using that part, I just let the volunteers come up. This, I decided I'd try a row of corn. Just kind of dug a trench through the bark, through the wood chips. Put in some amendments, dug a slot, planted the corn. I'm kind of leaving the drip system over the top of it. Might dissuade the birds, keep them from getting in there. You'll notice I also put some vermiculite over the top. Birds don't seem to like that. They pick it up thinking it's seed or whatever, and it's not palatable. Now this I just planted today. We're heading in towards July 4th. I kind of wish I'd waited till next week because we're supposed to have one more storm coming in. And I'll have to cover these over when that storm comes in. These are yellow 7-pot peppers. Extremely hot. Caribbean style peppers, got them from Baker Creek. Interested in seeing how they work. I don't want to eat them. I'm thinking about them for more tactical purposes. Some of you will understand what I mean. They can be turned into a liquid of various concentrations in sprayers for protecting a homestead. These are approximately 1 million Scoville units, whereas a jalapeno is 1,000. So these are basically over 1,000 times hotter than a jalapeno. So I don't want to eat those. Blueberries. Birds are really picking these over. These will have to be covered too. Seems as soon as they start getting ripe, they're just taking them down. But at least the plants are growing. Apples are really doing well. Yeah, I've pruned these down numerous times, trying to get them shaped. I do kind of have to spray these things with a fungicide. That's a copper type fungicide. Not worried about that. We really have problems with fungus up here. So these are golden russet apples here on this side. Actually over here. That one's crossing over. You're crossing over. Well, that's interesting. The golden russet apples, there's no golden russet apples on it. Maybe it needs another year. Liberty, this is a Liberty here. This one's doing very well. This is a Fuji type. And I have gone through and culled, reduced the number. I see I didn't quite as effective as I should have been. I can do that without damaging those. Let's try a real bitter apple. I like green apples. Ooh, tart. It's like those candies the kids used to have called Warheads. Woohoo! Ooh, that's good. Chewy. Got a couple on here. Getting decently sized. It's about 2.5 inches, some of them. Cherries, bird go nuts for these. I gotta pull this, so I have to net them right away. So I netted them, I've gotten a few cherries off it. I need to pull the net off, trim it some more, re-net it. There's some cherries in there I can harvest. Unfortunately, not only birds, so I netted it, and I still have a problem with squirrels. Squirrels are still getting in and getting some of these cherries. Very frustrating. Plums. One side I'm getting plums, one side not. They're about a little over an inch long. Yeah, maybe 1.8 inches to 1/4, and inch in diameter on larger ones. But not on the green side here. Oddly enough. Fig tree. There was a lot of figs coming on it. Let's see if there's any left. Oh, the birds started attacking these too. They didn't in previous years, but they've started attacking it. So yeah, there's some figs. They're nowhere near ripe. Do enjoy figs. So this tree's doing pretty well. Green grapes. I always have a problem with them with the fungus. These are much more susceptible than my purple grapes. Sprayed them a couple times and they seem to be doing a little better. I do need to trim them again. So I'll go through this week and trim back these long ones and probably reduce the number of clusters. I'm doing more with fertilizing them this year. Actually using a little bit of inorganic fertilizer as well. In its mind, I'm not really concerned. I'm actually, more concerned about some of the manures out of these feedlots that have a lot of chemicals and hormones and different things they put in it. That concerns me more. Now here's the, it's a type of like a Concord grape. These are doing pretty well, gangbusters here. These were so loaded down last year that they really bent down these wires. And this week I got on my list to prop up some of the portions of it in the middle. I don't have any intermediate pieces, so I need to get some intermediate stands to hold those up. These others aren't nearly as weighty, but they are coming along. These are red grapes, or will be red grapes. Almonds. You can see there's a few on there. Last year the birds wiped them all out, so I netted it early. They basically started pulling them off the tree just while they're green. Fond memory. Might want to watch that video at our cat China. Now here's the other set of peppers I planted today. These are kind of companions to the yellow 7-pot peppers. These are Trinidad scorpion peppers. And these are actually a little hotter than the 7-pot peppers. Now I grew these just like the 7-pots. I grew these from seeds. And I didn't want to get them out here until it got pretty warm. They're really like warm conditions. So I've had them under a lamp and bringing them in at night. I've been getting them, taking them outside for the last week and a half, giving them time outside. Had them out a couple evenings, so hopefully they'll be accustomed. If we get a storm, I'll cover them up at the beginning, and then the next week that'll be the end of the storms. It'll be nice and warm. These things should love it. Trinidad scorpions. It's interesting. I wanted these separate from the 7-pot, the yellow 7-pot peppers, because I don't want them to cross-pollinate one another. So these are far enough away from the others. I do want to save the seeds. It's one of the big things I'd like to be able to, if these work out, I'd like to be able to grow quite a bit more of them. Now here's Mrs. RH's persimmons. She loves persimmons. I don't care for them. This one here just wasn't doing well at all and sat for like 2 years not even growing, and then it's finally started to go. Now these have done and they've flowered. I'm curious as to why we get this brown. Oh, okay. Oh, because it's turning into a fruit already. The brown part's just the dried up flower part. Okay. Well, I've seen some of these around already. The birds are starting to, they come in there, they climb on these things, and then they nip them off right below the bottom and find them laying all over the ground. Makes me very angry. So I've started taking some measures with the birds, chasing them away with a pellet gun. So now when I'm out here, they stay out of the garden. They know from about the time I come out, the evening, and they stay out of here. But they do ravage it in the morning and in the evening. Here's the hazelnuts. What's left of them? Ones that the birds haven't gotten to. Birds and also squirrels. So they come up and bite the things off, and I find them laying on the ground. So they bite them off at the stem there and just find them laying around. And these might be far enough along that they might, maybe when they dry, they might be edible. Guess I'll find out. This is one that I'd like to be able to net, but it's getting tall already. It's gonna have to be cut back pretty much and get some large nets over here if I want to do something to keep the birds out of it. I am trying some audio ways of keeping the birds away, and we'll see if that makes a difference. So that's the upper garden. Kind of a minimal attempt this year. I would like to be able to plant a lot more produce down the middle, but as it is, the other garden's taking too much time, and I'm the only one working it. Another pruning out of the upper garden. This one over here is putting on a lot of fruit. I'm gonna have to cut a lot more back. It's just covered with it. Even though it's interesting because they tend to be a little more sparse in terms of each cluster. The grapes on each cluster seem a little more sparse. All right, here, June 30th, low garden. Kind of our small garden this year. I didn't plant too crazy. Look at this lettuce. It was like 3 feet tall. It wants to go to seed. That's still good. Finding this other's coming up. I've actually had some of it rot out. Now these are snap peas, sweet snap peas. But notice there's no peas on it. Now, I don't understand that. It's usually not an issue. So it could be that it got warm too quickly. I don't think they like the heat very much. But these beans actually I just harvested the other day. So over here you don't see many beans in there. That's about how the others were. Peas. And those all need to be harvested. Look at how tall they're growing. Cabbage. Never had any good luck with cabbage. This is about to be pulled out. You see it just gets ravaged by bugs. I really have to be on top of it to keep the bugs out of it. And it's just never done well. Never wants to head up. Basically gets very rangy, and then it just starts shooting up. And I've been cutting it back and cutting it back. We have used some of the cabbage. Mrs. RH has made a few dinners, stir fries and such with the cabbage, but it's not a great cabbage. This is a Chinese kind of a cabbage, the Napa style. I may try some small round head cabbage this next year, but that's going to be my last play with cabbage. I'm tired of it. It's always a problem. See carrots, at least the tops are popping up. It's Oakleaf lettuce, one of my favorites, but the problem is if it's not spaced out really well, it rots. It just gets all slimy and rotten at the bottom. See, we got a lot of fungal issues here. Yeah, look at that beauty. Big garlic. So I've let that one go to seed. Very cool, look at this thing. I've already pulled off one of the seed heads, letting it dry, so I'll have some garlic seed. And the onions are doing quite well this year. As you can see though, I planted them kind of too close because I just bought too many of them. I didn't want them to go to waste, so I figured we'd be pulling them out as we went. But we tend to use the tops of them for onions. I actually like the flavor of them better. Eat them right out of the garden. Yum, yum. Basil's not doing well this year. This is one of the worst years we've had for basil. You can see some of the things on there, some evidence of like fungal problems. Arugula, yeah, arugula. Well, it does pretty well. I like it when it's very small, but once it gets this large, it is so strong, it just burns your mouth. Mrs. RH likes it, but I can only stand a little bit of it in my salad. Otherwise, I don't like it. More basil. It's just basically hanging in there. I am getting a few shishito peppers coming in. And you see there's regular garlic in the back. Garlic's doing reasonably well. Marigolds are doing well. And here's my pepperoncinis. Hopefully they'll start taking off. It's going to be getting warmer next week. More marigolds. Gotta water this. I'm just moving the water slowly. I've got the little cultivator with me. So I put some the dark spots here. I've been putting some put some worm compost on it because I was just emptying out the worm bin. Actually, not totally emptying it, but I'm gonna reload it, get it all cleaned up. So talk about that in another video. So I'm in the process of watering right now. And here's our butterfly bush, as I call it. Wow, it's like 12 feet tall. Just find a lot of butterflies and moths, unfortunately. And unfortunately, it draws from the plants down at this lower end down here. So I've had problems with plants down at the end. See how they do this year. See the upper garden there. So here we are with the low garden. Very picturesque. The sun is setting. Emptying out the rest of the worm bin. Went through with a sifter. Sifted through, got about 100 worms in a start bin. And I put some compost that had been sterilized. Has some sand, compost, manure. Now you get the rest of this out of here. You see some of the places where the fungus. Yeah, there are actually like fungus balls in here somewhere about this big around, you know. It's weird. They smelled really strange. I was afraid it might be toxic to the worms, but when I removed the balls, I found the worms like underneath it. They were just like really loving this stuff. but it's not good for my plants. So I gotta get this thing out, get all the good dirt out, use it out there. In some places that aren't where new baby starts are. And then get this thing sterilized. Okay, the worm bin has been sterilized. Even the cart has been clean, scrubbed. Still looks dirty there, it's rust. So got them reloaded in here. And I'll be adding more just raw kind of compost. Crummy, cheap compost, and they'll enrich it. RH here, Upper Garden, signing off. Hasta la Projecto. Okay, RH, signing off from the Lower Garden. Hasta la Projecto.
Okay, our viewing audience, it's time to play the game of What's It? What do we got here?